So I'm driving out looking for news today and was thinking about yesterday when we had one come in kind of near where I live, which is different. Usually I'm going all the way out to Seattle, trying to go where the chaos is, and usually at night, right? Because nobody's working at the news stations, they're very small staff. But one came in about 8 minutes away. Somebody messaged me on Instagram saying that they smelled a really heavy natural gas smell over by this mall where there's a daycare and a Safeway and a bunch of other businesses. So I thought I'd head out that way. So first I turned on the scanner, see what was going on, and sure enough, the person who messaged me was actually before it was even getting called in 911. And the first call that came in was from like a doctor's office, chiropractor's office, something like that, saying they had a heavy smell of gas. So they were already dispatching an engine and some resources out that way, and then more calls came in, and one of them was from the crew that apparently had hit a gas line while working on a playground behind this daycare. So went out there, it was daytime, we were still cutting our normal like pre-record stuff that you guys see. So the editor Laramie was with me, and we thought, yeah, let's go out there. We didn't have any deadlines to meet. Let's go for a drive. So we got out there, and sure enough, by that time, they figured out where the leak was from, and it was a commercial supply line. So you get a lot of times where between the street and say a house, there'll be a gas line, and those aren't really big. But then when you get a full commercial building, those could actually be pretty big gas lines, and this was one of those. It supplied pretty much the whole strip. So when we got there, I didn't even put together, the noise was so loud that I actually thought it was some sort of industrial piece of equipment behind the safe or something like that. It took me a minute to realize. It wasn't until Laramie saw like, hey, there's fumes coming out of the hole, that it was just blasting out of there because it was this big commercial line. And so there's risks in a shoot like that you got to prepare for, but at the same time, the scariest type of gas leak is actually the small one. It's the small one in your house that goes all night and you don't know it and the whole house fills. When it's a big commercial line like that, it's shooting straight up in the air and it's dissipating. Depending on which way the wind blows, like if you were in front of the building, it smelled really strong. People up there said it was so strong that they were actually feeling sick. People back where we were, at first you don't even realize that it's happening. But we were pretty safe even though we were only 200 feet away, so somewhere in there. The crew that had broken the line was on standby. They're not allowed to enter anymore. At that point, the fire department had taken it over. They asked for law enforcement assist, but really just for traffic control. This was going to be a fire department and hazmat operation. And so they assigned a battalion chief, Battalion 381, and so he was posted up out there with a handful of engines in the hazmat unit. And the first thing they want to do is they call for PSE early on in the call. Normally at dispatch, when there's a gas leak, a confirmed gas leak, Puget Sound Energy gets added by the dispatcher. So the battalion chief confirmed and said, yeah, PSE's en route. And he said, hey, we've located the leak. This is a serious leak. Have them expedite. So they call in, and sometimes, saying have them expedite, it doesn't really change the response, but you still want to do that so that they understand the seriousness. It's not like PSE can run red lights or roll through stop signs or drive 100 miles an hour. They just, instead of driving like this, they just drive like this real serious, but it's the same response. And by the time they get there, they're trying to find the shutoff, and this is when it got even more complicated. So first, it was an auger that had drilled down in a playground that was being worked on, and the kids that would normally be in the playground were inside the building, so they had to get evacuated. So you got a whole bunch of people affected by it. You've got restaurants now without gas service. You've got the grocery store shut down, everybody out. Now they can't find the shutoff switch. So normally in between, the street, and the same thing for your water supply. You've got your main supply lines that go down the main street, and those are really, really big. And then they tee off to feed what they need. So if it's just your house, they just feed one line. If it's an entire strip mall, it could be multiple lines or one really big line that then goes to strip malls and goes to a manifold and then breaks off to all the meters. But somewhere between that tee off the main line and the building should be another shutoff. So if something like this happens, you can shut that down. You don't have to shut down all the blocks. And sometimes shutting down really big lines, even when you turn the valve, it can take a long time for those things to depressurize. So the fastest thing is shut off the supply. They can't find it. And they can't shut it off at the building because the break's before the building. So this goes on for a while. Then they finally, they get out some more resources from PSC, another locate service. They're going old school at this point. They're looking at maps and trying to find benchmarks, these little metal things in the street and sometimes on the sidewalk, and they're like running tape measures because they have a map that says when this went in 100 feet from that point to this point and 50 feet off that point kind of thing. And they've got it narrowed down to roughly a 10 by 10 section. They still can't find it. And they realize that this shrubbery that's maintained by the property management company and whatever landscape company they hire has not been maintained properly. It looks clean. If you drove by, you'd think it was being managed, but it's not. It's grown over the access point. So you got all these firefighters there. They have all kinds of tools, and so it becomes a joint effort between the firefighters, the hazmat crew, PSE, and this locate service. And so they just start cutting stuff away. They finally access it, shut it down, and pretty quickly, because it's that close to the break, the pressure recedes and the leak stops. Now the emergency's over, so the whole thing's going to change at that point. So what we've tried to capture is the response, the size of the response, because this is a big response that gets only bigger when they're having trouble getting it shut down. Now that's been stopped. Now it's what's going to happen to fix this problem. So you've got a crew that now PSE wants to talk with, get their information figured out. You said you got to locate, but there's no spray marks on the ground. You should have known better. We need your business information, and there's going to be penalties involved. Then there's, what do you do about all these people who are evacuated? The leak stopped, but has it dissipated enough? No. They got to go in and ventilate out all these buildings before they can let the people back in. So we're trying to capture that, as well as PSE now has it exposed, and they want to try and cap it or repair it or whatever they're going to do so that the gas can be turned on for any other areas. But at that point, because it's that supply line, really all those businesses, you know, what is it? It's January, it's 40-something degrees out. The restaurants can't cook food, and none of the businesses can probably heat because they're all running off that natural gas. So getting that restored matters a lot. So we try to document that. I checked in with the battalion chief, who I've run into on other scenes before, as well as in my other life, been a tender op driver for. So we chat a little bit, chat with the crew that broke the line. They didn't want to go on camera, and a lot of times you'll find in those things, these are just workers. They're really scared at that point. They should have known better. I'm not trying to say they don't deserve some blame, but putting them on camera can make their lives even worse, an already bad situation even worse. So we try to disrespect that. We got a lot of footage of them on camera that we didn't end up using later for just that reason, because we kind of wanted to respect whatever situation they're going through. But I'm also calling the news stations. A lot of times you want to call them late. So my goal is to try and sell footage. So I don't want to go in and call them early on and they think, well, maybe we could fly the helicopter overhead or send a reporter. Even though it's cheaper to buy from me, the union really pushes, like, if you can get to it, you need to send one of our union people. And union stuff's a whole nother conversation. I've actually tried to go down that path, see about getting unionized. It's a whole nother mess. That'll be another episode. But, you know, as they go forward now, trying to figure out how they get the businesses open, they let people back in because those businesses still need to be tended to, even if there isn't heat and other things to function, especially the grocery store. There were probably people with cartloads of groceries who got pushed out of the store, want to go back, complete that purchase. And so now at this point, we're trying to get the final footage. I'm calling the stations now, letting them know, hey, I've been on this thing. If you heard about it on the radio, couldn't get to it, I've now got it. Or you didn't know it happened at all, I've now got it. And I'm the only one who's got it. So one of the stations that hit back said, hey, we're interested, we'll take a look when it comes in. Ultimately, in the end, nobody bought the thing. Nobody even knew about it. I was the only one who covered it. Because of that, I probably got more views than I would expect on TikTok. I think the video now, we're, about 24 hours after it happened, and we've gotten about over 250,000 views. On Instagram, did okay. I think 25, 30,000 views, which isn't bad for a small hyper-local story. This is Maple Valley, Washington. There's a lot of people who live here, but this isn't like a thriving metropolis that people are always wondering what's going on in. So, you know, you've gone through the evolution of a tip comes in, we try to figure out what's happening, get on scene, find a safe vantage point, work with the crews. I have found, as long as I've been doing this, if you go in there a jerk and try and get as close as you can, once they ask you to move once, you're on their radar now. They now realize that you're going to push those limits to a point they need to watch you. They're not going to stop watching. You might get pushed back again later, or every time you get too close, it causes a problem. Work with the crews. Be respectful of what they're doing. Same thing for law enforcement scenes. You know, I don't I don't walk up to the scene when there's no tape. I go, man, if they're going to put up tape, where are they going to put it? I'll hold there. Because a lot of times, if you do that and are respectful, they won't even put up the tape. So then later, if you do want to get in there once it's safe and talk to somebody, you're probably going to have a better chance than if you pushed up as close as you could, and now they go grab one of the crew guys, say, hey man, put tape from there to there, this many feet back, and stay on that crew. Don't let them in. So being a little extra respectful, even if you might have been able to grab a shot you otherwise wouldn't have for 15 seconds, is not worth it. And they're going to remember you. And I stand out. I'm a tall guy. I got a big beard, shaved head. They're going to remember me next time I show up. And I don't want that to be the stigma of like, man, this guy's back. We know he always is pushing the limits. So in the end, what's the story? The story isn't just a gas line break. Gas line breaks happen. The story is gas line break where there's a bunch of people shopping, where there's kids, where there's a playground. How did it happen? Well, there's a multiple fuck-ups here in this thing. You've got the locate didn't happen. The crew says it got called in. It may have got called in. It didn't happen. It didn't actually get completed, and the work happened anyway. So that's part of the story. The risk, the fact that it was a playground, that there were kids, that there was traffic affected, that an entire complex had to be vacated. Then you've got the component where the landscape company wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. But if I'm the one managing that, I'm not really thinking landscape company. The property management company is the one that really needs to be pointing out like, hey, can we make sure our access points are clear? Landscape companies, they hire one place, they switch next year. Who knows when it got buried? If the management company tasked with that is not staying on top of that, that's how these things happen. But you've got layers of it. So making sure those things get pointed out. It's not just, hey, there was a gas line break, evacuation happened. Let's go through the points in this that make this a unique situation and how it got worse. This thing should have been stopped half an hour sooner than it was, somewhere in there, and it wasn't. Were more people at risk? Potentially. Was a lot more stuff let out into the atmosphere? Yeah, you bet. Was it all preventable? Every single accident or mistake out there is preventable. But this was preventable from a pretty easy to manage level. This wasn't like something, they dug and the line was shallower, something like that. This was just multiple steps in a property getting mismanaged. But went through all that, didn't sell it. For you guys who see this stuff and realize we post a lot, that's kind of why I started posting my own stories and doing my own narrations. There's stories of people getting shot and killed, lives getting changed forever, and the news just doesn't get at it. And there's a market for it. And these stories should be told. The firefighters out there working in a risky situation, that's an interesting story that I found out after posting it. 250,000 views, the public wanted to hear about it. Those type of stories too, if you're in this business, can help you get on other scenes because the firefighters realize, man, the news didn't even pick it up and we were out there doing good work that we would have liked the community to know about. You're helping make that happen. And that's it, whether you want to consider it be karma, business practice, whatever it is, it's just good energy that is going to help you downline when you're trying to cover other types of stories and spread that message and spread it responsibly. I've had the same things happen on scenes where people's homes have been burned to the ground, and then they have a GoFundMe component. So not only do the first responders want to have the good work that they did be shared, the family has real needs now. Maybe they were underinsured or whatever happened, and it would be really helpful if the public knew about it and wanted to donate money. That's happened. I've had apartment fires that, even though the news covered, that's the other side of it, the news covered it, and they didn't really pick up the GoFundMe components. And we can do that. I don't have to answer to an editor or station manager. I don't have to deal with slotting fees, all those other things that limit the capacity of TV news. We don't really have a limit. Now, if we're posting too much and people don't get tired of it, I guess that's a limit. But, I don't have to be limited by the fact that we can't fit it into a 30-minute broadcast or can't go back and follow up on it. So, it's a good example of a story that happened. It was nearby, was able to take advantage of it, still didn't make the sale, but still made good, compelling content that was viewed a lot. Picked up on TikTok alone, that story picked up another 300 followers. So, for an 8-minute drive, that's a pretty good turnaround. Even if I knew up front that I wasn't going to sell it, I would have still done the story. It was still worthwhile, even from just a business aspect without the revenue of it. And it was good for Laramie to come out and see what it looks like to work a scene. We had after it was done and we were doing our upload, we talked about, man, what could we have done differently? What could we have done better? I'm from the area, and so I kind of got in the tunnel vision of I knew where I was, and I forgot some of the basics of what's your scene setting. Why didn't we go out front and shoot the front of the strip mall, shoot the Safeway, get some wide angle shots, kind of for those who maybe kind of know the area but don't really know it? That could have had them in an instance know where we were at. Some of the people in the comments were asking, hey, is this in Four Corners? So they knew Four Corners, and I didn't build the shot well enough for that. So sometimes you got to stop and think, and maybe even take an extra minute to say, hey, let's get back out the car, go shoot that scene. Other things we realized, some of the stuff you guys saw in the clips were stuff he shot handheld, which worked out really well. He was able to get closer. You know, it can be hard to figure out how many resources you want to put on a shoot. It would be great to have 2, 3, 4, 5 photographers on everything, but you're not really going to get any more revenue. So what's that fine tipping point? Some of the other stringers I know in California, you know, they have their girlfriend come with them, and they're way more effective at what they do. They upload faster, maybe get a couple sales because of that, maybe. They can shoot better, they're much more efficient, but at the end of the year, do they make much more? They can say they do, but I would say they probably don't make enough to add that person. It only works because, you know, it's your girlfriend, they want to ride together, and for them that's a good time, great. But you're not going to be able to say, man, I should hire a second person to come ride with me because it's worth it. I don't think it's financially worth it or business worth it, but it sure is cool when you can do it. And Laramie come up with the idea of doing these kind of drive and talk videos, and so he's looking at it from a different level of like, let's increase what we're doing, tell the story better, and in the long run it might pay off. But if you don't have somebody like that who sees the value in that, saying, hey, come with me, I'll pay you by the hour, you're just gonna eat into what you would have made either way.
Engine 380, hazmat 375, battalion 381, fire 3. Smell of natural gas in the business, 26808, mid-valley back down the road southeast. Engine 380, 383, hazmat 375, battalion 381, on fire 3. Smell of natural gas, Pacific Northwest Oral Surgeon, 26808, mid-valley back down the road southeast.
Fire 3, engine 380.
Engine 385 3.
Engine 380 is in the area. We do have a heavy smell of natural gas in the area. We're driving around to the rear of the building to check meters.
Engine 80, I copy. Do you have an odor of natural or heavy gas in the area and checking? We do have a report of a construction crew that hit a gas line, but that was all the way at 24221 Southeast Kingley Road. I'm not sure how far, if it could have reached you there. And we're also getting a general fire alarm at Safeway Plaza, 26820.
Fire 3, hazmat 375.
Hazmat 375.
Can you show us responding 2 minutes ago?
72 ago.
And fire 3, engine 383 is responding from station 78.
Right. And just making sure you received the construction crew info, 24221 Southeast Kingley Road. They said they hit a gas line, loud hissing.
Fire 3, battalion 381. Do we have PSC en route?
They were advised. Not sure if they were out yet.
Can you expedite the response?
Fire 3, engine 380.
Engine 380.
We're with the construction crew. They did hit a line behind Safeway Complex. We're investigating.
I copy. With the crew hit the line behind the Safeway Complex, investigating 1028 and 10381. I copy. Will expedite.
Battalion 381, copy is behind Safeway.
Stand by on the floor. We'll Fire 3, engine 380.
Engine 383.
This is a large underground gas line that was ruptured. It's venting straight up. We'll be evacuating the area and monitoring.
I have a large underground gas line was ruptured, venting straight up, evacuating the area and monitoring. 1031 PSC says they are en route. They were advised to expedite a response.
Battalion 381, copy, PSC's en route. And Fire 3, Battalion 381's on location. I'll establish
Safeway Command. Command's located in the cab of my rig.
Okay, 3 to 1 establishing Safeway Command in the cab of your rig 10-3. And Command, do you want me to start PD for assistance?
Affirmative. We'll need to shut down the streets around Safeway.
Command Hazmat 375. Command Hazmat 375.
Hazmat 375, go ahead.
Yeah, just be advised, we're about 7 minutes out, but initial isolation should be about 300 feet.
Copy that. We're working on that now. Fire 3, Safeway Command.
Safeway Command, Fire 3.
FPD shut off 242nd Avenue from Kent Kangley to 241st Place.
Receive.
And Fire 3, Safeway Command.
Kangley Command.
Please, Safeway Command. Can you add a couple more PD units to help with evacuation? Hazmat 375, Command.
Hazmat 375.
Pull around the package Safeway on 242nd Street, corner of Kent Kangley and 242nd.
Kangley 242nd, back Safeway.
Command from engine 383, we're approaching.
Engine 383, go to the south of the complex, block traffic coming in from the south on 242nd.
Engine 383, okay.
Fire 3, Hazmat 375. Can you show us on location?
Hazmat 375, receive.
Engine 383, Command. 383. Park your apparatus so you're blocking both lanes. Run some tape across the whole road there, and then bring your mind power forward to the command post.
383, receive.
380 from 383rd.
But
There's a faint odor of natural gas in the back rooms of the daycare.
odor of natural gas in the daycare. Copy that. Can you evacuate all people in that room?
Command, engine 380.
Right.
Evacuations have been made to include Safeway complex.
I copy that. You've evacuated all people from the entire complex. Engine 380, Command. Engine 380, Command.
Engine 380. Not the entire complex, just the Safeway building, no further south.
Copy that. Engine 383, Command.
383, go.
Evacuate all people in the strip mall south of Safeway and have them stage south of the strip mall in the parking lot.
383, okay. Evacuate strip mall south of Safeway and stage outside.
Fire 3, Safeway Command.
Safeway Command.
Hazmat 375 is making entry with their meters.
Heavy Hazmat 375 making entry with meters.
Engine 380, driver, Command.
Command from engine 383.
Go ahead, 383.
Strip mall south of Safeway is evacuated. Ready for resume.
Copy that. Stay on the opposite side of Safeway and just make sure that nobody's re-entering the building.
383, okay.
Fire 3, Safeway Command.
Safeway Command, Fire 3.
The entire complex has been evacuated. Both Safeway and the strip malls attached north and south.
I got the entire complex, Safeway, and the strip malls attached north and south are evacuated.
Fire 3, Safeway Command, PSC's on site.
PSC on site.
Command Hazmat 375.
Go ahead, Hazmat 375.
We're still getting really high readings in the parking lot of Safeway on the opposite side of where you are. I recommend we try to get everyone out of this parking lot for a little bit.
Received. Work with engine 383 to evacuate the parking lot. Fire 3, Safeway Command.
Safeway Command, Fire 3. Of the Safeway? Got me.
Engine 380, Command.
Engine 380.
Make your way to the alpha side and assist with evacuating the parking lot.
Receive Alpha 5 back to the parking lot.
Engine 383, command.
383. Affirmative, 383, receive that.
Hazmat 375, command.
Hazmat 375.
Progress report.
Yeah, we've cleared all the buildings. We're getting some pretty high readings in some of the businesses. Out in the parking lot, we're about 4% LEL. We've got everyone evacuated to the far end of the parking lot. We just need to get that pipe shut off.
Copy that.
Engine 353, Fire 3, automatic fire alarm coverage is pull station. Tried to call inside, but I got it. Somebody picked up and hung up. And it was for Boeing building, and it was for building 9-120.
Engine 80 driver, engine 80. 80 driver, go ahead. Stand by on the floor. We'll be probably doing a lot of that ventilation from the backside.
3, engine 353.
Engine 353, Fire 3.
On location, 3-story industrial building, nothing visible, doesn't appear evacuated, will be investigating.
Copy, 3-story industrial building. Nothing visible, not evacuated, investigating 1102. Engine 353, Fire 3. We're also getting a water flow alarm for same location.
Engine 380, command. Engine 380.
Bring your crew to the Charlie side and help PSC remove a bush that's blocking the valve.
Received on our way. Command, engine 380.
Go ahead, 380.
Gas line's been secured.
Copy that. Gas line has been secured.
Command, Hazmat 375.
Hazmat 375, command, go ahead.
Can we start ventilating the daycare?
Copy that. Engine 383, command.
383.
Go back to your rig, grab your fan, work with engine 380 to ventilate the daycare from Charlie side to Alpha.
383 received.
Engine 380, command.
Engine 380.
Ventilate the daycare with your electric fan, Charlie to Alpha.
Received. Charlie Alpha, ventilate.
Fire 3, Safeway command.
Safeway Command, Fire 3.
Gas has been secured. We're working on ventilation now.
Copy, gas secured, working on ventilation.
Fire 3, Safeway command.
Safeway Command, Fire 3. Copy. Safeway Command, Fire 3.
Safeway command, go ahead. He called me. We're good, thank you.